from our Liberty USO dance that we had. That was such a wonderful success. But before we go on, I would like very much to have everyone that was on the committee to please come up with me while we present our check. So, ladies and gentlemen, come on up. I am so glad to see you walking. Thank you.
Okay, what am I doing? This one here?
So I am going to give it to the mic to Lori, who is our Liberty USO volunteer, who will introduce our committee.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming, and this is such a joyous night. Some of our committee members weren't able to attend, but the committee members that are here like to introduce Marge Weena, Maureen Chiappi, Grill, Kathy Gurbich.
We never knew anybody's last name.
Betty Satterley, Michelle Held, Tom Yeagle, Larry Rabini, of course, Dr. Rose, Pete Palestina, Lynn Kelleher, and Paulette Shank, and of course,
Got my name?
I'm a little nervous. I'm sorry. This was such a phenomenal night that the township, the residents came together to do. But I'd be remiss to tell the Liberty USO and to tell Joe Brooks that there's more that our township does than just this dance. We have senior citizens over at our senior citizen building who crochets Afghans for our deploying soldiers. We have the Marine Corps League, their Christmas party. In lieu of bringing gifts, they make a donation to Liberty USO. We have a family who has made anonymous donations, as well as to help to support a family in the a soldier's family in need. That all we had to do was make a phone call. So Northampton Township is a supporter of Liberty USO, and I'm very proud.
As Lori was describing all that Northampton Township does, you all must be familiar with our Socks for Soldiers that was started with Supervisor Vince Dion and one of our families who were in the flag, Mr. and Mrs. Croak. And so we do a lot. But now it gives me such wonderful pleasure to introduce the COO of Liberty USO, Joe Brooks. I'm going to read this, Joe, so I don't say home. People don't like when I say home. For nearly 7 decades, Liberty USO has served the needs of the active duty, National Guard, and Reserve military personnel and their families throughout Pennsylvania and southern New Jersey. Liberty USO's mission is to enhance the quality of life of the U.S. Armed Forces personnel and their families, and it has delivered its special brand of support, comfort, morale, boosting, and recreational activities to service members and their families. For the wonderful work that you guys do, Northampton Township would like to present you with $11,893. And this is not going to go, the banks weren't going to accept that, so Lori has the real one, so we'll make sure you get it before you leave. Go ahead, sir.
I thought I'm going to need a really, really large deposit slip. For this, I have to tell you all something. This is the single largest donation I will have received in probably about the past 16 months from a community. That's how special you all are. Now I'm saying because I'm actually really blown away by this number. For those that don't know what the USO does, okay, we're not Bob Hope from wars past. We're more than Toby Keith performing for the troops in Kuwait, Iraq, and Afghanistan. These many, many years. We are the opportunity to let our military know you appreciate their service and sacrifice. We are the conduit to take care of military families when our government doesn't. And we do this not because we're paid to do so. We do it because we're supposed to do so. The USO is not the federal government. The USO is not tax dollars at work. The USO are folks like you who recognize that our military takes that oath to defend the Constitution, and they do it, and they write a blank check payable with their lives. A simple thank you to them is all they expect. But we need to do so much more. These dollars will enable us to do that. Just before coming over here today, I had dinner with Colonel Shank and Lurie, and we were talking about one of the USO's unwritten missions is to tell our military's story. Okay? To be that bridge between an appreciative civilian population and our military. And all too often, the media doesn't tell those stories. Okay? The only time we hear about Afghanistan, it's hardly ever. You know what dominates the news? The Kardashians. Whether Beyonce lip sync yesterday. That's not news. Our men and women in uniform are news. You clearly recognize that. You recognize it right there. You know how rare that is? And it's sad. You are the exceptions. This should be a beacon for every community in the United States about how we should honor our military. Everybody in this room is an example of folks that get it. I want to acknowledge somebody here today that gets it. Betty? The committee worked very hard to make this happen. But I know that on some committees there are folks that pull more than their fair share. The recognition that the few do the job for many. And Betty's that person.
We're here.
The military has a tradition. When senior officers, flag and general officers, want to acknowledge somebody who does a superior job, somebody who goes above and beyond the call of duty, they do something called coining them. Officers, instead of business cards, create coins. And it's a way of acknowledging service. 72 years ago, the USO minted its own coin to recognize when somebody does something exceptional. And it's not presented in a plaque. It's presented in a very personal way.
I was honored at the USO dinner to be coined by Mr. Brooks, so I know how special it is, Betty. And I keep mine with me at all times. It is now my lucky charm. I didn't have it when I did this, so, so it is. So again, I would like to just let everyone know that the reason that Northampton Township got involved in this is because of Lori Ann Lau, who is a volunteer for Liberty USO, who goes to McGuire Air Force Base, goes to Fort Dix all the time, making food for our service people. And one thing that Joe told us before, which I never realized, is the Liberty USO is there for every family when their loved one does not come home alive. And they are there to support that family. And I never even realized that was a part of Liberty USO. So again, thank you, Joe, and thank you, Lori, for all you do. And our committee has their thinking caps on for next year's event. So again, thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you.